Anyone who has common sense will remember that the bewilderments of the eyes are of two kinds, and arise from two causes, either from coming out of the light or from going into the light. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the very first mainline Kirby game to step into 3D. Honestly, it's a fantastic experience, and one I've spent countless hours playing. But we're not here to talk about gameplay, you're here for the lore. I've talked about Elphalus and the New World on my channel before, but this time, I want to dive even deeper. In this video, we'll be exploring the lore of Kirby and the Forgotten Land in full, including the Star-Crossed World DLC, and all the new mysteries it introduces. I've taken my time to soak everything in, connecting the dots and researching as much as possible so we don't miss a single detail. We'll be going over the Elphalus species, the New World, and all the new lore the expansion brought to light. I'll also be sharing some of my own theories and possible inspirations behind the characters, and what it could all really mean. So, sit back, we've got a lot to cover. The Forgotten Land, also known as the New World, is one of the most mysterious settings in the entire series. Kirby is drawn here after being pulled through a dimensional rift, a tear in space created by some sort of alien to capture Waddle Dees. These rifts connect Dreamland to an entirely different dimension, a parallel world that once thrived under a highly advanced civilization. This ancient society was far beyond what we see on Planet Popstar. Their world was filled with towering cities, shopping malls, power plants, amusement parks, all signs of a civilization that had mastered industry and science. They even formed powerful corporations, Holine Corp, which built the cities and industrial infrastructure, Alival Holding Company, which operated a wide network of businesses, and Lytron Works, a research organization that delved deep into the study of energy in space. But despite all their advancements, this civilization's curiosity would lead to its downfall. At some point in their history, they discovered a strange alien entity that had arrived from deep space, possessing immense psychic power and the ability to open dimensional rifts. The alien was quickly captured and brought to a research facility known as Lab Discovera. Rather than destroy the creature, the civilization decided to study it, hoping to harness its power. Experimentation followed, and through this research, the people of the New World unlocked the ability to manipulate space itself, developing what they called the technology of dreams. Using this new power, they gained the means to travel through dimensions and eventually escape their home planet, which had grown too small and crowded to sustain them. No one knows where they went or if they even survived, but their influence didn't vanish completely. Ruins of their world, their cities, machines, and records were left behind, now reclaimed by nature and the descendants of the planet's wildlife. Some fans believe this civilization could be the origin of the Ancients, the mysterious race credited with creating powerful artifacts across the universe, like the Lore Starcutter, the Master Crown, and other relics capable of bending space and time. It's possible that the lore itself was built using the warp data extracted from the alien, explaining how it can freely travel across dimensions in other games. After the fall of the civilization, the world slowly decayed, the infrastructure crumbled, animals evolved, and the remnants of science became myth. But within Lab Discovera, something terrible remained. The sealed remnants of said alien, Fecto Elphalus. The pink puffballs faced his fair share of invaders, and the Elphalus are no exception. Before Elphalus was split into two halves, there was Fecto Elphalus, the original, complete being. Fecto and its older brother, Genwell, were born in a distant corner of the galaxy. Together they invaded countless planets, leaving nothing but death and destruction in their wake. Eventually, Fecto set its sights on the New World, drawn by a mysterious song, and attempted to subject it to the same carnage it had inflicted on other planets. However, before Fecto could fully unleash its destruction, it was captured by the ancient civilization we mentioned earlier. 30 years into the research on Fecto, something extraordinary happened. It was split into two beings. One retained all of Fecto's positive traits and became Elfilin, who managed to escape. The other half, Fecto's destructive nature, becoming Fecto Forgo, trapped within a capsule. After the previous civilization disappeared, the planet was reclaimed by the Animal Kingdom. One of its leaders, Leon, entered Lab Discovera and was essentially possessed by Forgo, using its psychic powers. Using Leon as a vessel, Forgo formed the Beast Pack and began opening dimensional rifts to recruit more underlings, all to capture Elfilin and reunite into its original, complete form. Of course, there's also Fecto's older brother, Genwell Medion Elphilis. Medion is likely a reference to his ability to turn into a meteor. His first major form is the Star of Darkness, and, interestingly, its core bears a strong resemblance to Forgo. The black outer portion seems like wings, cradling and protecting the inner section, the core of his being. When sealed by the Starries, and even just by its design in general, it looks remarkably like a massive Jamba heart. We'll dive deeper into that resemblance a bit later. Originally, Genwell took this form to collide with and wreak havoc on the New World. After Fecto failed to subjugate the planet, Genwell attempted the same destructive plan. However, thanks to the Starries, his path was diverted, and his plan didn't fully succeed. Speaking of the Starries, they're described as spirits born from gems that often sail blissfully through space. Their origin remains a mystery, but at some point, they encountered the Star of Darkness, Genwell's meteor form, and attempted to seal it away. Sound familiar? Genwell also created the Galactyl from his own body, weapons intended to destroy the Starries so he could be freed. Next, let's talk about Chaos Elphilis. This is the form that Soul Forgo takes after absorbing the Beast Pack and Morphonite. Essentially, a corrupted amalgamation of souls. Players actually face Chaos Elphilis twice, with the two versions depending on the arena type, but we'll focus on the second, more powerful version. In this form, he wields his brother's spear, Ares, earning the title Lord of Chaos. He's stronger and has new abilities compared to his previous form. Interestingly, before the fight with Genwell, he absorbs some of the Starries, which influences his appearance. Even after Genwell is initially defeated, Ares still contains some of those sealed Starries. It isn't until Chaos Elphilis is defeated that the Starries are finally freed for good. Since Elphilis is essentially the species or family name, it raises the unsettling possibility that more of them could exist somewhere. A pretty scary thought considering how destructive they are. Now that we've covered their story, we can move into some theories and speculation about the Elphilis brothers and the New World. There's still so much we don't know, which leaves plenty of room to dive into what might be happening behind the scenes. And that's where I come in. Earlier, I briefly mentioned Genwell's spear, Ares. In Greek mythology, Ares is the Olympian god of war, embodying violence and chaos. There's that word again, chaos. Fecto's spear, Antares, in Greek myth means rival of Ares, which makes you wonder, maybe the brothers had some sort of sibling rivalry? Either way, the connection is definitely there. In the second fight with Chaos Elphilis, he summons what seems to be paramatters. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but in my video on Void Termina, I talked about the symbolism of the eye versus the mouth. Drossia also summons paramatters, but I mistakenly called her maw an eye, which a commenter kindly corrected. This ties into a deeper meaning I covered in that section in the video, that those with a mouth can create, like Drossia, a painter, while those with an eye can only destroy. That, along with attacks and references to the other soul bosses and Void, and the aforementioned Jamba heart resemblance, point to all these things being connected somehow. Also in my Void video, I discussed the different types of matters and their relation to Void. Considering the Alphaless brothers' psychic powers, they might fit into the dream matter category, especially when you think about the whole forego dreams thing. We initially find Lab Discover in the volcanic region. Likewise, in the DLC, we discover another lab beneath the spot where Genwell crashes, which is also by a volcano. Could it be that the ancients were using magma from these volcanoes as a power source? It would make sense. In Return to Dreamland, the ancients also harness magma as an energy source, since their home is located on a planet with a massive volcano, and their factory, Egg Engines, is situated just outside of it. Before the DLC came out, a lot of people, myself included, really expected the boss of the DLC to be Galactonite. There were the Starries, and some enemies had the same insignia shape as the opening of Galacta's mask. For the first time in a while, we didn't see Galacta as a secret boss, with Morpho Knight taking his place instead. We now know that wasn't the case, but it's possible that Galacta may have some connection to the DLC, perhaps through the Starries, since we still don't know a lot about them. Galacta's name is Galacta, like Galactic, and Starries have a deep connection to space, so it's impossible to say for now, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with Galacta in the future. During the refight with Morpho in the DLC arena, Void Terminus theme plays. Honestly, I have no idea what this could mean. I've theorized before that the masked characters could be the four heroes of yore, or that the Kirby-like characters have a close relation to Void. Maybe this is a subtle hint towards something like that? That's a heavy theory though, so it's most likely they just wanted to include the music. Then again, like the butterfly in previous games, even the subtlest things in Kirby often end up being a reference to something later on, so we'll just have to wait and see. Going back to Chaos Alphaless for a moment, during his fight, a distorted version of Eternal Echo of the thrilling tour plays. I mentioned earlier that Fecto first invaded the New World after hearing a mysterious song, so could this be the song that drew him in? The idea might even tie into real-world science. Humans have actually sent radio signals into space in hopes of reaching alien life, a process known as active SETI, or METI. Was this song sent out by the ancient civilization that once lived there? Or did Fecto simply overhear it with those giant ears? Who knows? Speaking of the ancient civilization, I made a short video a while ago theorizing that Nightmare may have originally come from the New World. It's just a theory, but if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, time for the meat and potatoes of the theory section. Genwell's dark matter-like core. When talking about this character, this is what everyone instantly jumps to, and I can't blame them. I believe that this core may be a literal interpretation of the mind's eye. The earliest recognizable form of the mind's eye comes from Plato in the Republic. In the Republic, Plato used the metaphor of inner sight to describe how the soul perceives truth. He believed that the mind had its own eye that could perceive forms, perfect and visible ideals like beauty, justice, or goodness, which could not be seen with physical vision. As philosophy met religion, the concept evolved further. In Christian mysticism, the eye of the mind, or oculus mentis in Latin, was the inner vision through which one saw God or divine truth. Writers like Augustine of Hippo spoke of the inner light, the illumination of the soul that let it perceive divine realities. The mind's eye concept also appears in 14th century literature, like in The Man of Law's Tale and Shakespeare's Hamlet, though some sources place the exact phrase's first use in the 15th or 17th centuries. Today, in cognitive science, the mind's eye is used to describe the brain's ability to visualize, to create and manipulate mental images, but the poetic, mystical, and religious meanings still linger, a kind of inner sight that connects emotion, memory, and perception. We can, in a way, tie this to Genwell. His dark matter-like eye could symbolize the corruption of the mind's eye, the gaze that sees everything yet is blinded by what it sees. He could represent the perversion of enlightenment, where infinite knowledge leads not to peace, but to despair, or cosmic arrogance. His eye might function as a literal portal, seeing not just across dimensions, but within minds. Remember the Plato quote from the beginning? It echoes the Platonic theme of ascending from the cave, only to burn in the light. That's a bit complex, so for simplicity, let's say this. Ganwell's core could be a literal representation of the mind's eye, and if our matter theory is correct, he would fit snugly into the dream category with his psychic powers, which is why his core takes the form of an eye, like dark matter. This is all just a theory, however, and it hinges on whether our theory about matter in the Kirby universe is even correct in the first place. But this is what I'm going with for now. Kumazaki likes leaving things open-ended in this series, so maybe one day we'll find out. Or maybe we won't.